The Alabama Tape.
Hey, it's Taking It Down, and we're back after a week away. It's Tuesday for listeners, hopefully, probably. This podcast is produced by the Alabama Take, which exists as a website and national holiday. We cover and discuss some things in pop culture that have our eye, and today we're going to be talking about that finale of Euphoria after a couple of weeks to think about it, as well as the whole season of Somebody Somewhere. We'll also reserve a little time on the back end for thoughts on Apple TV Plus show Severance. That's going to be an interesting discussion. And just a quick note, we've got new things in the works, one of which is a possible sports podcast. I believe one of our head writers, one of the originators of the Alabama Take, T.D. Wood, if you see his writing on the site, he's just in mind for a co-host. So if you got 30, 40 minutes every week, you might want to think about that. He's a good guy. Shout out to T.D. But today, on this podcast, joining me, as always, is two other good guys, two friends, Adam Morrow, Donovan Reinwald. Here they are.
Good to be back in the saddle.
Great to be here, Blaine.
I missed it so much. I was just rudderless all week, aimless, without that to set me on my course.
Guys, if you don't compliment my hair, I'm ending this podcast today. So,
your hair is beautiful.
Thank you.
Now, isn't this the part where we interrogate Adam mercilessly?
About
where I was? Or
about where you were.
Well, we were all off last week.
Yeah, but Adam was really the most gone.
Mentally? But Adam actually, rode to Athens, Georgia, watched a Bonny Light Horseman show. If anybody's listened to this podcast at all, there's a good chance they've heard us say the words Bonny Light Horseman
in a glowing manner.
We're fans. So the show was great.
It was great. It was the first time that I had left. One, that I left the state in quite some time, and two, the first show that I have been to. Not to discount stuff that I've seen around town, which was just as great, but to go, make a special trip, and it was in a performing arts center on Georgia's campus, which was great. Blaine, I know that you were. We've discussed many times our position on concerts these days.
Oh,
this was one for you.
Oh, sit down early.
Yeah. We were out of there by 9:15, and we're only in Eastern time for not even 24 hours, so it was still 8:15 according to my biological clock. It was great.
Oh, I'm all in.
That is a glorious show.
Can I squeeze in a shout out?
Yeah.
Can I squeeze? That's one of the great things about Druid City Brewing down in Tuscaloosa. Our pals there, they are still putting together great stuff, and they had Sweet Dog's big birthday party and excellent music. I caught a few videos from that. From some friends actually even sent them to me directly. Thanks, Ryan Akers, and they do early shows, and that's just the way to go, man. I don't care if you're a kid or an adult. If you're 21,
it is the way.
Yeah, if you're 21, go see an early show, and then go party and do your cocaine at somebody's house, and
Well, I'll use that. Anybody that's listening that's in Tuscaloosa who wants to come see Speckled Bird, we'll be there next Saturday.
Yeah, man.
Saturday, the March 12th.
I'm hopping on a plane.
There you go. On our way to South by. Should be very exciting.
That's exciting.
Adam, you dropping new music soon, Speckled Bird?
You
teased it.
A video of some of the EP stuff from we're lucky enough to practice at an amazing studio, because that's the trade-off for living in the Shoals when it can be kind of boring, is that you can go into a space where Bob Dylan mixed a record. That's pretty fun. So
hell yeah.
That's what that tease is. So by the time this comes to air, it will be up. So we played our song Starlit.
You shared it with Donovan and me, and we thought it was good stuff. So well done.
That's why I needed some validation.
Yeah. Really good stuff.
Dude, this is the boat I'm in. Last night I was up, not very late, but I was up alone in the house thinking. I was mentally shutting down the website 100%. I was like, no, I'm done. What am I doing? What could I do with my time if I wasn't, how could I revert my energies into what am I going to do. And I was minutes away from just getting online, emailing everyone, say, hey, if there's any writing you want to save, come get it, because I'm done.
Don't do it.
Well, the thing that made me completely do a turnaround was that we actually do have a lot of people that use the site now more than me and you guys. It's a community, and that was my goal 4 or 5 years ago, just to have a place where everybody could use it and do what they wanted. And it's honestly coming to fruition just a tiny, tiny, tiny bit. So shout out to Patrick Akers, one of our new writers. He's covering a lot of wrestling, and he's got some cultural stuff in the works. Shout out to Laura, who's been doing book writing, and just those two alone. And shout out to TD, who did his weekend six-pack on sports again. And just those three alone was just like, nah, I'll keep it running for them, if no one else.
I'm glad that you left out Hayden and Josh.
I did that on purpose.
It makes me feel good. No, don't do it. Even if I know longtime listeners have heard us, bro out about how much we enjoy spending this hour and a half with each other every week. But it's a big thing for me. So I'm glad we're still here.
That really was another reason. I just thought, well, how would we get to talk to one another? We wouldn't schedule time just to be online and talking. I don't think.
Please don't shoot that puppy, Blaine. That puppy is our time together.
Oh, Lord. No talk on the Batman here today. None of us have seen it, unless I'm wrong. Donovan, did you sneak into the theater?
Almost snuck in yesterday,
Dude.
And I'm not kidding.
I wouldn't have blamed you. It looks enticing.
It's been getting good reviews. I love Rob Pattinson.
Sure.
The only thing that prevented me is it's 3 hours long, so I feel like I do have to really make sure that I know what I'm doing with my day before I before I make that commitment.
That's a commitment. The thing that made me pump the brakes or not trying to figure out a day when I could go this week is that HBO Max, or one of the HBO people, announced that exactly 46 days after the theater premiere, they're going to release the Batman and some of their other DC-related movies this year. I don't know the significance of 46.
I love it.
No, I don't understand that number.
I don't either. I just love some cryptic, extremely specific yet still very cryptic stuff like that, like a plan. I'm like, what are they up to? They mean something by that.
You are the biggest Radiohead fan of the three of us. So.
That's true.
But yeah, I may just sit on those 46 days and then watch it when we can talk about it when it premieres on HBO Max for the three people who don't go. But it's getting rave reviews, like Donovan said. That's fairly thrilling. I'd watch it.
Did you like this guy's previous movies? Those Planet of the Apes reboots that he did? Did you see any of those?
I did not.
Those might actually be worth if you like. Those are actually not too bad. It gave me a good feel. Like he took something that should have been so terrible and made it not horrible. I'm not gonna go out and say that they're like the greatest things ever filmed, but they're pretty good. So that made me feel excited about this movie.
Yeah, Matt Reeves got good reviews for. That's the director. He got good reviews for those. And I remember thinking, why is this getting a good review? Should I really try to see it? But I never did. Interesting, though. Let's get to our show fairly proper, I suppose. We'll talk finales. We're going to talk the Euphoria finale and Somebody Somewhere. Both of those ended their seasons recently. Both of them are on HBO or HBO Max. Both feature characters singing their emotional states, and both ending on, I thought, touching moments. Let's begin with Euphoria. Needs no introduction. And I swear this... more people every day are coming up to me and talking Euphoria. I guess they found out I watch it or whatever, or just more people watch it. So this, I'd place a bet. I haven't seen any numbers. I think this is the most watched show of the last few weeks. Did it wrap up too tidy?
I don't think so. And I think there are a few... I mean, obviously there's some loose ends, and I don't know if we want to call those problems. I think we're going to address some of those things that came up during the season that never got a resolution that seemed fairly pressing.
For sure.
That didn't get a resolution in this finale. Plus, I think we're really living... It's clear that Rue is not a reliable narrator, right? So, and there was even like a sequence in the episode where Rue talks about the play and how much Lexi nailed it and how cathartic it was, all this stuff. But then that scene is in the play. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like the scene of them kind of like embracing at Lexi's house. And Rue even looks much better, looks like she's been healthy for a while, all these things. But then that scene is in the play, as seen by that audience. Maybe Rue read the play. Maybe that's what she's referring to. I don't know. But there are so many layers of like, I don't think we have to believe everything on screen is what actually happened.
Yeah, that gets tricky for me. How much should I rely on what I'm seeing? And I'll forget that. And so the next day or two, I'm thinking about the show and won't realize that it could be a bit of unreliable narrator situation. You know, I think one of the big critiques just online was that maybe there should have been a lot more tension between Cassie and Maddie. That was a little too...
More tension?
Yeah, she shoves her into the wall, and that was kind of it, right?
That entire fight was so good.
It was so good. I thought it was fantastic. Yeah, but
I was laughing the entire time. It was from Maddie's line, "That's it. Somebody needs to put this bitch down," and her launching herself on stage, and the friends, shuffling along behind them. Oh, It was so good. And just the physical comedy was from two people that have shown that they have dramatic acting chops to then go to absurd physical comedy was impressive, I thought.
Yeah, I liked it, but it seems as though they're kind of sort of okay with each other there in that bathroom scene shortly after the fight. Where, should there be a lot more of "I'm never talking to you again" kind of thing?
Or does Maddie realize that the cruelest thing that she can do is to let Cassie have the psychopath? I mean, we're talking about a guy who just put a gun to her head not too much earlier, so...
That really did seem like the case. That makes sense. There's also this idea that Rue and Lexi could have fixed their relationship at some point during the school year and not like the day after, since Rue states that she continues to stay clean and she's almost offering like, here's what's going to be happening off screen kind of thing.
Yeah, there were a lot of turns of phrases that kind of make you think, like when she says, "I stayed clean," through the rest of the school year, where you think, well, where has she been narrating this from the whole time? What place in her own journey? Death was talked about so much. Is this her from beyond, like recollecting the last few years of her life, or is it just that she made it to college, or she's an adult now? Where is she when she's recounting these things? Because I don't think they didn't really frame the play like a traditional teen movie where like prom is the last scene or the end of the year play or whatever. Like I think they still had to like be in the petri dish of high school together after that, right? They didn't just like walk away when the play was over.
And what a wonderful nod to Stand By Me. That's the idea behind it. It's almost bookended. Well, it ends with the guy sitting at his computer as an adult typing out these thoughts.
Right.
Which seems to be maybe what Rue's doing. Oh, and then go back to episode 1, and the literal first scene is her being born. So is it birth to death?
I don't know. There were moments, we said this on the pod, that say in episode 5, if she, in her descent to what's been rock bottom so far, if she had died in the process, it would have felt earned. Like the show had done the work to make me think, okay. And then to continue watching after that, even though Zendaya is obviously the marquee name attached to this.
Oh man, her facial expressions alone during the play was worth this season.
She was so good. Her and Jules watching the play, were some of my favorite moments of acting. The moments when they were truly terrified that this doesn't need to be happening in public, and the times that they were just taking pure joy in the chaos.
Thoroughly realistic facial expressions.
Yeah.
Was Elliot's song too long?
Yes. Oh my God. When you brought up music in finales, we're going to talk a bit about Somebody Somewhere.
Which does a very similar thing.
It does, but if we were having a 2-horse race, the taking it down Grammys for best use of music in a finale, somebody somewhere crushes Euphoria.
Yeah. Okay. It's funny because that guy who plays Elliot is a musician. A lot of people know that, of course. I'm not revealing anything, but he released a version of that song, and it's shorter. The one he releases.
The release? I'm sorry, I gotta back up. The release is shorter than what was on air?
Yeah.
Okay, so while a highly dramatic play is happening and an actual gunfight with a SWAT team and drug dealers, and they spent more time with that character singing that song than he felt the need to put out in the wake of the episode. You're telling me that's about the size of it?
Bit of a misstep.
Yeah.
I think this show did a little, yeah. Critics and fans have some problems with this episode, but I do think that what I've noticed is that critics more so than fans. I do get the complaint that there was a resolution to certain things that may have needed it before you jump into a third season. Rue owing the money, Maddie and the lady she babysits for, that seemed like it needed something to happen.
Yeah.
So it's a fair complaint, but has the show milked Rue's speech at her dad's wake for what it's worth now? I still find it moving, but
I do too. And I have meant to go back and see if it is the same every time.
Me too, yeah.
I'm sure that there's some a critic somewhere, maybe Reddit, has gotten into, because we're again into the unreliable narrator, because it's different people remembering it every time.
It's true, yeah.
So I would be interested in what some of the lines stay the same, some of the linchpin lines, I suppose you could say, but I think they got to let it go now. I mean, she's let the hoodie go.
Yeah, Reddit would be good for that kind of information. The young guy who plays Ashtray revealed that it was Fez that was supposed to die, and that was changed the day before shooting.
That's amazing that he's making a show on the fly. That's one of the most beloved characters. I mean, they both are, but there's been some stuff that's come out about characters who maybe were less involved this season, and kind of why that might be, and how much license he gives his actors to express, I don't think my character would do this. I think we should frame this scene this way and block it like this and blah, blah, blah.
Right, yeah.
I wonder how they arrived at that, because that is when there's a season 3, that is seriously important. This is not a casual decision.
From a show-making viewpoint, it makes a lot of sense. Ashtray didn't deliver a lot of lines in any episode.
Right.
He was, like, if you're going to take somebody out and still have reverberations, but yet not lose a central piece of the puzzle, it makes sense.
He's candidate 1 for most emotional impact and least story lost, least narrative lost, it seems like.
Yeah.
Because everybody loves him.
Way.
What did you make of I've been thinking about this. He is in that tub, right? And is it just because they're in houses a lot that this happens a lot? But there's a lot of tub scenes or shower scenes in this season. Like, it starts with Cassie hiding in that tub. Do you remember that? That's episode 1, right? Where they're all at the party.
Yeah.
And she's, has the close call with Maddie or whatever. And then they, Rue, when she first goes to that drug dealer's house, and they throw her into the tub and to, like, search everybody or whatever. It's just interesting that keeps coming up, especially the Cassie thing, because it was, she's laying totally flat, trying not to be found, and then he goes out the same way.
And then Rue, of course, when she revisits the drug dealer, she bathes her, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't she put her? Yeah. I've always been told that a traditional way of thinking about bathing or water is that it's a baptism, it's a change.
Yeah.
For a character, but so this has Cassie and Ashtray are both without water, yet in a place that's supposed to hold water, so there isn't a change. I don't know. Do you feel sorry for Cal out there just living his best life, only to be interrupted by his butthole son?
Yeah, I really do. I didn't think, when you first meet Cal, it's a great again, and talk about this show earning things that would be maybe ridiculous in other plot lines in other shows. But you first meet him, you're like, the son is just a chip off the old block. This guy's a total douche. And then the more you get to know him, the more sympathy you have for him. Obviously not the most graceful exit from his family life, but yeah, I mean, I really felt bad for him.
You mean to tell me pissing on the floor in front of everyone is not
hilarious?
The way you exit an argument? Yeah.
Hilarious, but maybe not the most graceful way to bow out.
Yeah, great season. Better than the first, I think, despite leaving a character to not enough to do, I guess. That's been talked about online. A lot of people can go read that stuff, how the young lady who plays Kat kind of tried to stand up for herself.
Yeah, I alluded to her a bit earlier, that she didn't understand why, maybe she did, but, she doesn't have the same voice that the other young actors do on set, and was confused about how season 2 went for her. And then there's McKay, who only shows up for the first episode, and, they had spent not a small amount of time kind of building up his arc of going to college and thinking that he was great, and then everybody there's pretty good football player, not going to make the league, all this stuff. I didn't know if maybe they got bored with that plot or what the deal was. Anytime this show has dealt with sports has been funny to me. Clearly not their first, their biggest strength, I guess.
No. Zendaya did say in an interview that they rewrote, I think, maybe not reshot, but rewrote a lot of this season because of COVID downtime. So,
that makes sense.
She says the things that got cut needed to. So I don't know. Let's keep on the HBO track. We got another one on the docket. Somebody Somewhere stars Bridget Everett and Jeff Hiller. It was sort of an underground show, as underground as an HBO show can be, I suppose, about a lady coming home to tend to her dying sister, which is handled off screen before the first episode. And then, of course, she has to deal with her family in response to that. We'll be spoiling the whole season, but the three of us liked it. And so if you trust our input, go watch it. Go watch the 6-7 episodes and then come back and listen to this spoiler stuff. I'll just start here. Did Fred Rococo end up being everyone's favorite character?
The revelation that he had a K-State party bus was, I think the most crucial character revelation on the show.
In addition to the nicest tornado shelter that I've personally ever seen.
Yes.
It was a poker room.
Yeah.
Fred Rococo is I think the masculinity I aspire to if I could only grow a beard.
I want to hang out with him so much.
In the scene where he's talking to Sam's dad about the farming practices, very cutting edge in the advice that was given there. I gotta say, as a dork over these last few years about how I'm doing my garden, he was a big proponent of the no dig method. So shout out to the nerds out there.
Was that factual stuff?
Yeah. The idea that you feed the soil compost with a top layer instead of running a tiller every year, and it's better for the soil, doesn't disturb it, and there's less erosion, less loss of nutrients. Anyway, that's all. I'm gonna just stop myself there. Slide in the DMs if anybody wants to chat soil.
I know I've said this about the show before, but these establishing shots are so comforting and have this way of transporting me to a version of Kansas where the traditional and the progressive sets of ideas start to meld to a degree. Maybe one where people will get all Jesused up, but at the same time have a bunch of gay friends. Anyway, if nothing else,
your gay friend is all Jesus.
That's so true. The character of Joel was pretty much that. It's weird, I guess, maybe for us to concentrate or spend this long on establishing shots. It's almost the only person I can think of who's really, really great at it is David Lynch. Is like the master of just putting in a shot that tells you everything you need to know. There are plenty of others. I mean, filmmakers know how to do this, but this one just, I swear to God, my blood pressure would go down whenever I would see these.
It was kind of like it was to what it was trying to do, what they were in Mayor of Easttown. which was much grittier,
Yes, that was
obviously,
another one.
and darker, but it's so great at the establishing shot. But it totally felt like the show visually.
I found myself responding to the music too. The music was also very soothing.
Yeah.
It made me curious. I wonder how someone from Manhattan, Kansas, would feel about these shots. If it's like, yeah, this is my life, or that's not Manhattan. You need to see the real side of Manhattan, Kansas.
Bridget Everett is from Manhattan, Kansas, if I'm not mistaken, and I think she
is.
Yeah, I think she commented in an interview I read this week that they captured it nicely. She basically said as much. Establishing shots can't make a show great. Was the show great for you two? What level of greatness did it hit for you?
I thought it was really great. If we're doing a 1 to 10, obviously you have to take the show on what it's trying to do, and I think if you do that, it's like a 7 or an 8 for me. I thought it had some of the best dialogue, the most realistic. It just felt very natural, and we talked when we first brought the show up about how relatable it is in a lot of ways to be, in a small conservative place and to be the other, to be different in some way, but to still love where you are, and to still try to be part of the community, and just the point of community being, she finds it initially at choir practice, which is a more obvious set of like-minded kind of folks, but then by the end her and her sister have this great connection happening again, and I don't know, it just felt like a very honest portrait of like middle adulthood in a place that maybe you didn't think you'd end up, but are like making the best of.
Nothing was forced on this show.
No.
It's very gentle, and it's gentle in, not that it didn't handle tough stuff, but it's gentle in its handling of it, and it's gentle in its portrait of it. It kind of is a portrait of a woman coming back to life, whatever that means. From where she is in episode 1 to where she is in the series finale. There's been no like earth-shattering epiphany or anything like that, but she's in a different space.
It's a slow-moving resurrection.
Yeah.
Yeah, and how you know that she is in a different place, one of the signs was her upselling that whatever at her sister's bullshit shop.
Yeah,
and
the blanket.
Saying, oh, that was actually kind of fun. And like having a lighthearted moment with her sister. You think this is so benign, yet does convey so well what they've been doing these last 6 episodes.
Yeah, it's nothing is ever. One of the things I've enjoyed about it is although it is very funny and it's got good dialogue and all that, it's never in your face. It's always got something that's going to kind of, maybe even a day or two later, you're still kind of thinking about that, like, yeah, that was a good shot, or, that was a good scene.
Donovan, I hate these thought exercises that I'm about to present, but
God doesn't deal in hypotheticals.
That's it. Couldn't you see Joe Pera visiting Manhattan, Kansas?
I could absolutely. When I said there's a gentleness to it, I almost said much like Joe Pera, because Joe Pera also deals with some very heavy stuff, especially like this last season with
making a chair.
Yeah. But like with making a chair and what that represented, and his girlfriend's anxiety.
Oh right, no, that is true.
What that represents,
of course.
Well, and the chair represented something. It's heavy stuff because like the chair's about his grandmother dying in a lot of ways, and does the same thing where it's that it's heavy subject matter, but it's handled very gently. There's no nastiness or meanness to it.
No, it showed very much about grief, and so those closing moments where she finally gets into her deceased sister Holly, her bed, did it strike a chord with you, or was it too predictable?
It worked.
Yeah.
Just because it's that slow, it's that slow kind of step that she's been taking every episode, and it fit because this episode was an episode where she was able to be vulnerable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And admit things.
Yeah.
She was able to be vulnerable in front of other people.
Right. She
helped
dealt
her
with
make
some
that
grief.
step. Mm-hmm.
And so if you take a step back from that scene, just a few scenes before is the moment where she sings this song, which Bridget Everett, the actress, wrote with a friend. So it's one of hers. And she sings it, and it's kind of an ode to having friends when you're an outsider and the importance of that. I suspect that the song could be taken as a hit or miss depending on who's viewing it, but I thought with the context of the setting and these characters that it worked. It helped her see
Yes.
that, yeah, and it helped her see that she wouldn't be as vibrant as she is there without Joel and Fred and the rest. So,
it helped to have. I personally thought it helped to have Fred Rococo there.
yeah, to
Just
offset it.
kind of offsetting the mood a little bit, something that would have played schmaltzy otherwise was it had a note of a realistic note of, I don't know, like this was very direct and very honest and very vulnerable, and not everybody is always 100% comfortable with that.
Yeah, Fred played the straight man in a lot of those sequences, even like driving the bus around. You look at Fred and you think, well, leading choir practice, all this stuff, yet Fred is really surrounded by much more insane individuals.
Yes. Man, how great would it be to go to a K-State game with Fred?
Unbelievable.
I'm in.
That would be to roll up in his party bus. There you are. You're at the stadium. K-State's playing. Heck, I don't know who's still in the Big 12. Baylor,
Kansas. I don't know. Yeah, great show. We thoroughly recommend it, I think, and yeah, watch it. It's good stuff. It's very not plot heavy, but still, there's a beginning, middle, and end.
This was a show, too, that you talk about how every time Pen 15 every time I watch Pen 15 and it gives me the warning that it's only for mature audiences, it cracks me up a little bit because it's kind of like, this is really, I mean, it is, but it's also sort of for everyone. And this show, I feel like, kind of is the same in a weird way, is a show for everyone. So yeah, maybe not bring the whole family, but there's a inclusivity to it that I really sometimes don't see on an HBO show because they're trying to prove that it's on HBO for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, this one does not necessarily have that, and that's very nice.
I guess we've all felt like outsiders at least once. There you go. Let's take a break right here. So here's the spot where I tell you that you can follow the Alabama Take and get all notifications about what's happening on Taking It Down as well as on the site. We'll let you know when we have new things for you to check out. I mentioned earlier, let's give an official welcome to new writer Patrick Akers to the site. He's been covering a lot of AEW wrestling. He's got more in store, so follow on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and we'll try to keep you as updated as we can, especially when new things are up on the site. I've got a secret to share, in a way. This Song Sucks Season 3 is going to begin soon. Be on the lookout for it. I do know that they are recording episodes as we speak. Follow, subscribe to this one, Taking It Down, so you don't miss an episode in your podcast feed. Over on Apple TV Plus lies a very simmering show, Severance, starring Adam Scott, John Turturro, Patricia Arquette, Christopher Walken. And it's about a particularly bare and bland office where your memory gets severed from who you are on the outside of this windowless space, underground, seems like, or it is. It's as if one side of you doesn't know the other side. It's almost two people. All of the show's episodes are directed by Ben Stiller, who's done really good work as a filmmaker. That might be his new niche or whatever, but he's fantastic. We have watched the first couple of episodes. Let's get into those. Definitely the first episode will be spoiled. Adam, what'd you think about it?
It was a bit like, I'm trying to think, a very Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind vibes combined with, what else did we say? I thought it was good. I thought y'all have seen the first two. I've seen the first. Just trying to kind of wrap my head around it. was definitely a change of pace from finishing Somebody Somewhere and then immediately clicking this on. Maybe should have done that in the other order for a nice warm hug at the end of the night. Like Adam Scott, it was, I don't know. I feel like I'm still kind of like unpacking that first episode, how I actually felt about it, because there's a lot of interesting ideas presented. I thought the sets were amazing. You talk about establishing shots. It had some ominous shit going on.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep watching, but I don't know. Oh, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Minds and Devs. Devs was the other thing that we thought of.
Oh, yeah.
Which we talked about that a few...
Dev's
couple years
popped
ago.
in my head too.
I'll be interested in how it all comes together, because I'm still like trying to understand the rules. You know what I mean? And I'm sure in episode 2 it moves a bit beyond that.
This one, more than it almost seemed to be taking some cues from like horror. Like you could almost call this a corporate horror show.
What?
Just with
What cues did you see?
now that I've said that, I can't back it up with anything.
That, well, particularly the score.
Honestly, the shapelessness, the faceless hallways, the break room.
Yeah.
Oh my God, the break room.
The building itself, the way they show the building the first time, it's like there's bad shit going on there.
The way that this specifically happened in. Now I'm specifically referencing stuff in episode 2, but like when the black liquid comes everywhere, and he has to go to his wellness session, and he starts getting just knocked off points for no reason.
Yeah,
it's
points.
kind of that's 10 points. You have 90 points remaining. It's all sort of corporate horror stuff.
Yeah, it really is.
Patricia Arquette's character feels very menacing.
Yeah.
In a really, she's doing a really good job.
Yeah.
But yeah, it seems more like it's supposed to be creepy and unsettling and horrific than satirical.
Oh yeah, yes, I agree with that, and that makes a lot of sense because I thought it was just going to be this overt attack on capitalism or jobs in general, and it's not that completely.
If I was smart enough to remember books that I read, I would be a lot better at what I'm going to say. But I read a book called Christianity in the New Spirit of Capitalism, which was building on the classic Christianity in the Spirit of Capitalism, the Max Weber book that talks about how Protestantism basically invented capitalism. I think it was Max Weber. And some of the things that it's talking about, the new spirit of capitalism, the late stage spirit of capitalism that we're living in, and how late stage capitalism, the moves that it does demand things like total commitment, which I totally saw in this show, and the way that it kind of destroys any thoughts of anything but an ever all-encompassing present. There's not really any future. There's not. You're always held by the debt. You're always held by the debts of the past.
That the book says that.
You made in the, yeah.
Whoa.
It's called Christian, and so anyway, it's Christianity in the New Spirit of Capitalism, and it's specifically about the way that Christianity as a
ideology
thinking, can subvert, push back, and critique these things. But I so that kind of stuff with like I saw it as a deep critique of late stage neoliberal capitalism, just with looking at literalizing what does it mean to have an eternal present where you're always working.
Golly.
And what does it mean to have an eternal present where you're always beholden to the debts of the past, right? You can never get away from the debts of the past. The decision you made in the past is irrevocable. Your decision to work there, and the way that it literalizes total commitment to the job because you have nothing else.
Wow. That, I think Ben Stiller's Jewish, right? But I was going to say, I wouldn't be surprised if he's read that book after hearing that, or is in tune with a lot of those things.
Yeah, I think he's in tune. Whoever the folks writing and making this, I think, are in tune with, because she's the person who wrote this book is pulling on, all different theorists and from all walks of life, not just religious theorists.
Oh, gotcha. Wow.
And so yeah, that's what I see in the and I think that that because of the way I just think horror is a really good lens for approaching this stuff.
Yeah.
Because it is horrific.
Yeah, yes. And yeah, you're right. You tied all that together right there. I don't disagree. It was on the fun side, which is really happens not on the show, but in my thought process. It was a lot of fun to entertain the notion of who I'd like to forget outside of work. That's all I'll say. Boy, this show could be working on a lot of levels, though, right? Other than what Donovan laid out for us quite well.
Yeah, I think because it's also talking about, much like Somebody Somewhere, it's also talking about grief. The main Adam Scott's character is very possibly taking part in this thing because he's still not over his late wife, right?
Something.
And he wants to
Maybe divorced?
I think it's at the non-dinner dinner that he was at. I think they specifically said late wife.
What a
Yeah,
what a
I was
quirky
led to believe.
concept to just the non-dinner dinner.
That we're talking about that was one of the more comedic scenes too. Where is it Rick his brother-in-law? Yeah. It's like, I think we did, this is normally where I'd say dig in, but I think we did.
Awful.
Yeah, but it's also dealing with grief and that sort of stuff too.
Yeah, and they did a good job when, I can't remember who tells him when he's at work early in episode 1, you look hungover, and he kind of looks confused.
Mm-hmm.
And then you don't know until later what was happening there. I mean, what if you were hungover and you had no memory of why? I mean, I guess that happens, but more specific.
You're describing a hangover.
Yes, but yes.
You're describing the
realize
90s
now.
for me.
Yeah.
So there's a quote in episode 2 that really scared me in a way. One of their managerial type people says, this is a good time to remind ourselves that a thing like death happens outside of here. And I think a great potential response to that is gratitude.
Yeah.
And that just,
I found that
pretty
to be
creepy.
really creepy. It's that total commitment, right?
Mm-hmm.
Total commitment to your workspace.
Yes. Which is what this world wants nowadays, it seems. Or maybe I'm wrong.
I don't think you're wrong.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things this show is talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm all in on this show. It's completely captivating. It's enticing.
It's still so weird to me that Ben Stiller is the director because he's doing such a good job.
Well,
I think
did you not like the cable guy?
The last thing I saw directed by Ben Stiller was Tropic Thunder. And,
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah,
these are worlds away.
are they?
But you missed out on Escape from Dannemora, which was
I did miss out
so
on Escape
good.
from Dannemora, which apparently I need to circle back around and hit
it's really
up.
good. Do you like Benicio del Toro?
I do.
Then you're gonna love Escape from Dannemora. Do you like Paul Dano?
I do.
Do you like Patricia
Part of
Arquette?
the reason I want to see this new Batman movie.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, we begin and end with the Batman. Any final thoughts?
Oh, on the Batman?
Anything.
Yeah, he's the Dark Knight.
Grittier than ever. How gritty do you like your Batman?
I like it.
People
know
are
when
actually
you're-
throwing dirt on me in the theater.
Yeah,
Same.
I was gonna say, when you're out at a picnic and you drop your sandwich in the dirt,
Yeah.
but you still gotta eat it.
Okay.
If I don't have to get a tetanus shot before going to the theater, I'm not interested.
Yeah. When I leave the theater, I want people to say, "Jesus Christ, you look like you need a shower." That's what I want from my Batman.
I'll say, man, you look hungover.
You don't know why. Let's say goodbye for this week, and what we'll do is we'll return next week. Follow us online. We'll give you a couple days heads up on what we'll be covering. We might, if we can get a few more episodes of Severance in us, I bet we'll return to this. It seems like there's some unpacking to do. We'll talk to you on Tuesday.